Hello everyone, and welcome to another DIY concept analysis, a series of videos where I discuss about upcoming dinosaur concept arts released for Evrima. Today we will explore Triceratops, its real-life counterpart, how it was in Legacy and how it's going to be in the future. So without further ado, sit back and enjoy the video. Triceratops horridus, meaning three-horned face, was a large herbivorous dinosaur from the late Cretaceous, 68 million years ago, inhabiting the lands of what is now North America. This massive herbivore that weighed up to 9 tons was one of the heaviest members of the Chasmosaurinae subfamily, the second subsector of the broader Ceratopsidae family. Unlike their centrosaurian cousins like Ava that we discussed 2 weeks ago, Chasmosaurians were mostly known for their long frills and large brown horns, with Trike being one of the largest, reaching up to 30 feet in length, even surpassing T-Rex in mass. Ironically, Triceratops had an unusual small frill compared to its Chasmosaurian counterparts, although its skull as a whole was enormous for its size, with the biggest achieving an impressive 8.2 feet. It also had a pair of 3.3 feet horns located on the top of their eyebrow area, with a much smaller third one on its snout, hence its three-horned face name. Trike's dentition was arranged in groups called batteries, up to 40 long columns of teeth stacked on each other on each side of each jaw, with each column possessing around 4 teeth, making almost 800 teeth total. They were absolute feeding machines, consuming gigantic amounts of plant matter in short periods of time. Herds could devastate entire fields in days. However, their rigid crest didn't allow them much neck movement, mostly relying on ground vegetation for their diets. Being released in February 18, 2016, Triceratops is amongst the oldest dinosaurs in the Isle's history. Right from the start, Trikes were a strong opponent to engage combat with. Tanky, high damage, and high bleed, these horned herbivores were usually treated with respect by other herbivores and carnivores alike. Throughout the years, they maintained their apex plant-eater stature with no significant changes. However, with the transition to survival mode, their reputation slowly started to dwindle. Higher-tier carnivores started to gradually dominate most of the roster more and more. Trike itself got nerfed significantly. However, the most impactful contribution for its current poor state is the game itself. The Isle was always a relatively buggy game. Glitches were common and hitbox's registration was always inconsistent. But in the final Legacy years, Triceratops' hitboxes got so bad that more than half their hits wouldn't register properly, changing their combat capabilities from skillful tactics and positioning to almost complete gambit. With its defenses being unreliable, Trike slowly became a much less favored apex herbivore, being replaced by Shant mostly. Although they still remain as an imposing threat to most mid-tier dinos, the constant pressure from apex carnivores significantly decreased their popularity, and despite still being a rather common sight in herds, Triceratopses are currently a shadow of their former selves. But now with the release of its concept art, we can finally speculate and analyze the changes this majestic ceratopsian will have with its implementation in Evrima. The concept as a whole clearly showcases that Trikes will be a very aggressive dinosaur, indiscriminately fighting and killing both carnivores and herbivores even before they achieve adulthood, as seen here with the sub-Trike dominating an adult Diablo. Their main feature seems to be its long horns, which appear to have multiple functions. The most predominant one is impalement, stabbing their opponents with its horns, presumably dealing devastating damage and deep wounds that can cause a significant amount of blood loss, as we can observe in these two illustrations. They can also be used for non-combat activities, serving as tools to shake small trees, causing their fruits to fall and being picked up by other herbivores, a similar mechanic to Pecky's with its ramming ability. As expected, they can also be used for non-lethal confrontation, demonstrated by these two specimens brawling. However, they also got the extra feature of being able to use their sharp parrot-like beaks to cut and apparently dismember others, as shown with this poor Omni being shredded by one. The over-aggressive behavior of ceratopsians in general has become an overused stereotype in the Isle to the point it's starting to be detrimental to the dinosaur's design. Time and time again we see them showcase extreme acts of violence for seemingly no reason in some cases, with now Triceratops being a clear example of that. It is expected to see animals from the same species to compete in non-lethal combat for multiple purposes, with that being a common ceratopsian trope which makes sense due to their anatomic nature. However, Trike specifically is seen directly attacking herbivores not once, not twice, but 3 times, with one of them not even being an adult, implying that they are expected to have this behavior from early on. This image is clearly trying to show their ability to impale small creatures, but why a Tenonto of all dinos? The Isle has an overabundance of small-tier carnivores. Deliberately picking a herbivore instead seems forced and unnecessary. If their intention was to tell us that Trikes prefer herding exclusively with their own species, they could have shown us that by drawing a group of Trikes roaring at an approaching herbivore, or dragging their horns through the ground as a warning. This image suggests that they actively seek violence, which makes way less sense since it's a herbivore we are talking about. ShiftTV already mentioned this in one of his previous videos, and I totally agree. The ceratopsian number 10 being over aggro has become too common, and it started to hurting the dinosaur's capabilities in the game. By restricting every single member of this family to a one-dimensional behavior or playstyle, not only limits the possible abilities and niches each dinosaur could have, it also makes them dangerously similar in terms of gameplay. Having a super violent herbivore is indeed an unused niche in this genre, and I openly welcome a character that focuses on that playstyle. But turning an entire family of dinosaurs to that niche is damaging to the game as a whole. And this is the 4th Ceratopian concept art. We still have at least 2 more, and following this trend, I wouldn't be surprised if they were also overly aggressive for no reason. On a more positive note, at the very least Trike got a lot more tools to work with. Its horns will have much more utility in and out of combat, which is a straight positive. It deepens its mechanical depth and increases the level of interaction the player has with the world, which is always a good thing. A 100% improvement from Legacy's Trike in my eyes. They also showed that its impalement mechanic can also be applied to large animals, making Trike a much more dangerous opponent to apex carnivores, or at least in theory. Although in case that them herding only with themselves ends up being true, it's unsure how that would affect the player ecosystem. I mean, why would a Rex family attack a herd of Trikes and risking their own lives when they can just ambush a para herd instead? But this is just speculation, so we will need to wait and see. But what do you guys think? Do you enjoy Trike's improved design? Share your thoughts and opinions down below. If you want to watch previous concept analysis, there will be a playlist available in the end credits. If you are also interested in discussions about the Isle and its future, check out the rest of my content. A huge thank you to my Patreon supporters for supporting the channel and the content I create. If you want to join the ranks, the link will be in the description. Don't forget to leave your thoughts and opinions down below. Join our Discord server for memes and player net stuff, and I hope to see you next week.